I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Starting out this morning with temperatures mainly in the 30s, but a nice warming trend taking shape over the next 2 afternoons. Mostly sunny today with high temperatures 55 to 60 degrees. Get outside and enjoy that. We're breezy at times the next 2 days. Overnight clear in the mid-30s. Then by tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny with highs in the mid to upper 60s. We're mainly clear Wednesday night, lows in the low to mid-30s. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the Weather Center.
Welcome to Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live, broadcasting and streaming live from the WIDU Community Room.
The We Do Radio Network, WAGR in Lumberton, WYDU in Red Springs, WEWO in Laurinburg.
Making Rounds Live on 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
We air every second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
Making Rounds Live.
The purpose of this show is to bring you information on health and wellness.
Here's the host of Making Rounds Live, Omega Jones.
Thank you so much, Ray. Welcome to another edition of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. I'm your host, Omega Jones. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest in the studio, Mr. Mike Nagowski. And in case you don't know who Mike is, he is the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health. And he's here to update us everything. He's up here to update us on everything that is going on at the health system and how the health system is working for our community. Mike Nagowski, welcome back to Making Rounds Live.
Good morning, Omega. Thank you so much for having me. I love being on with you. I love being on the show, and I love talking about the health system.
Well, let's go ahead and get everything started. Before we start talking about the plans of the hospital's future, what are some of the accomplishments of the health systems that you are most proud of over the past year?
Well, Omega, when I think about this past year and all the things that we've accomplished, for me, I sum it up in continuing to grow access to care for our community. And there's real tangible benefits of that and real tangible things that we can talk about there. I think the first and foremost is the expansion, right? That bed expansion on the campus is 92 additional beds. And the really interesting thing about that is half of those beds, more than half, are ICU beds, intensive care beds. And that's really what our community needs. Right now, we're limited. We have approximately 40 ICU beds. It's just simply not enough for two reasons. One, the number of hospitals in the region that request to transfer patients to us continues to go up. The requests to transfer patients to us continues to rise. And a lot of times, we don't have the beds for them. When people want to transfer a patient to us, it's usually their most critical patients. It's the patients who have all sorts of multiple issues going on, comorbidities, and we want to take care of people, but if we don't have a proper bed and staff to take care of them, we can't. The other thing I think you're going to see with that expansion is as we open up and fully get all of those beds operational, I think you'll see it manifest itself in the emergency department, where we expect wait times to continue to decrease. So that's been a huge move forward for us. And then, Omega, I'm not sure if you've driven along Village Drive lately, but if you drive on Village near the hospital, you're going to see a couple of things. One, you're going to see the infrastructure for the medical school go up. The steel is going up.
Yeah.
You can drive by and see it. You can almost feel the excitement. And then the other thing that's coming, and you'll see construction in 2025, is a dramatic expansion of our daycare services.
Really?
Yeah. One of the after effects of the pandemic was there really is not adequate number of daycare centers in the region. And there's a whole host of reasons for it, but at the end of the day, there's not enough. And if you think about the workforce that we have at Cape Fear Valley, 80% of everybody who works at Cape Fear Valley is female and young. And so what does that mean? They're going to have children. And we can't expect our workforce to come to work and take care of others if there's not a place that they're comfortable for their children to be taken care of. So we're going to be able to, at the conclusion of our expansion of our daycare, be able to take care of more than 300 children on a daily basis. So a lot of new exciting expansion and access to care going on at Cape Fear Valley, and we're just going to continue the momentum.
Now, all the expansion you were just talking about, that's around the main campus at Village Drive,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Let's talk about the expansion of Valley Pavilion.
Yes, and so the Valley Pavilion expansion is that 92-bed expansion.
That is, okay.
Yes, where half of those beds are ICU beds, and then the other half are what we call step down, where you come out of ICU, but you're not really 100% ready to hit a regular med surge floor. And so that'll really transform our ability to take care of the region. And then, as you just said, that expansion on top of Valley Pavilion also comes with helicopter pads. And I think most people in our community know where our helicopter pad is. It's on our front lawn, right? And it's great because we got a great big front lawn and the helicopter pilots can see where to land. And that has served us well for years, for decades. But as healthcare continues to grow and advance, and as Cape Fear Valley continues to grow and advance, we take more and more transfers. And there's only two ways to transfer a patient to a hospital from another hospital. One, and the majority of those transfers occur by ambulance. We have a fleet of what we call ICUs on wheels, right? They're ambulances with all the accoutrements, everything needed. But the other way you transfer patients to us is by helicopter. And we're really fortunate because Cape Fear Valley now has 3 helicopters.
3 helicopters.
And those 3 helicopters primarily are responsible for going to other hospitals, going to other sites, and bringing patients to us. And while the helicopter pad that was on the front lawn really worked well, logistically, it's not the best. Because just think about it for a second. The helicopter pad is there on the front lawn. The helicopter lands. You have to then take a patient from the helicopter, put them on a medical stretcher, and get them to the emergency department, which is across the front lawn, out in the weather. What we have done is we have added 2 helicopter pads on top of the Valley Pavilion. So those helicopter pads will allow us to get patients more quickly from the helicopter either to the trauma bay or to the cardiac catheterization lab and deliver care more quickly. And, you know, of those 2 helicopter pads, we're really excited about them because one of those helicopter pads is built specifically to land Black Hawk helicopters. Now,
Wow.
Omega, I hope a Black Hawk never has to land,
But
right?
yeah.
But given, you know, that Fayetteville's proximity to Fort Liberty and Pope,
We're a military town.
we're a military town. And the great news is the state of North Carolina recognizes that. You know, they hold Fayetteville very dear, and they actually gave us the money, $3.5 million, the state of North Carolina taxpayers gave us to build that helicopter pad to hold the Black Hawk helicopter. Black Hawks are much bigger, much heavier than a traditional transport helicopter would be for patients. So the Valley Pavilion expansion, the building is fabulous, the rooms are beautiful, and we think as those beds come fully online, we'll be able to provide even enhanced access.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, Mr. Mike Nagowski. He is the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, and he's our guest today on Making Rounds Live. If you would like to join the conversation, there's 2 ways you can do it. First, you can call WIDU at 910-483-6111, or if you're following us by way of Cape Fear Valley's Facebook page, you can leave the question in the comment section, and Lindsay will make sure that we get those questions answered for you. Also, we want you to share the broadcast. We're discussing a lot of information here today. You don't want to be that middle person because you'll forget something. So make sure you share the broadcast so everyone can see what we're doing here at Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Now, Mike, you were talking about expansion. I understand you're expanding the operating rooms as well. What's going to be going on there?
We are, Omega. Thank you for that. So, in one of the big growth areas for Cape Fear Valley has been in our partnerships with our local universities. And those partnerships have allowed us to begin training the next generation of physicians. Right now, we train surgeons, general surgeons, OBGYN, and also orthopedics. The orthopedic residency that we're doing is a collaboration between Cape Fear Valley and Fort Liberty, specifically the hospital on Fort Liberty called WOMAC. So that orthopedic residency is between the Department of Defense via WOMAC and Cape Fear Valley. So now we're training the next generation of orthopedics. Why am I telling you that? Well, that directly leads to why the expansion of our operating rooms. As you continue to grow and train these surgeons, you need the space in order to do that. And so working with the state, they gave us $14 million to expand our operating room theater. It will add 2 new rooms for surgeons to work in, but more than that, it'll transform our teaching environment. Where we do that work now is not adequate. We've converted some rooms, some space, so that the surgeons in training have adequate training space, but no one would describe it as world class. And facilities matter. So our training spaces will become world class, and the impact on the patients will also be rather dramatic. In today's world, the area where you wait before you go into the operating room was built and designed in the 90s. And in the 90s, it was world class, right? But 25, 30 years later, that environment will change dramatically. And because surgeries are up at Cape Fear Valley, the amount of people coming to us for surgery is up. We need to grow and expand that. So the operating room expansion will not only give us additional rooms, it'll give us world-class training space and a much better experience for patients before surgery, during surgery, and after surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, real excited about it.
Let's talk about 2025. What are you looking forward to this year?
Well, you know, as I think about what the health system's going to be doing in 2025, I think it is going to continue its journey of growth and expanding access. And that will manifest itself in a couple of ways. Again, if you drive along Village on the campus,
the whole landscape, the whole skyline has changed, Mike.
It looks totally different. and that's going to be the way it's going to be for the next probably 5 to 7 years, because Cape Fear Valley and Methodist University are going to bring to Fayetteville a medical school, the nation's newest MD medical school. It's going to be on the Cape Fear Valley campus. The steel is going up. If you drive down Village, you see it happening. If people are wondering the location, the Village Baptist used to have a church on the Cape Fear Valley campus. And long before me, it was purchased from the church. And that facility then housed our education for our nurses, for our staff. And we demolished that church, and that's where the medical school is coming up. And we're real excited about that land and what it's meant historically and what it's going to mean going forward. So 2025 is really an important year for us for 2 reasons. One, right now we have more than 30 people who are employees of the medical school who are here in Fayetteville, working on building the medical school, developing the medical school, curriculum, admissions, all of that work. By the end of this calendar year, we'll have more than 60 people working at the medical school, doing all of that work. But also in 2025, the governing bodies called the LCME will be here to inspect Cape Fear Valley and Methodist University. That will happen in the month of May. And we're really looking forward to, because it's our expectation at the conclusion of those inspections, they'll tell us we can begin to accept patients. We can begin to accept medical students into the new medical school in summer of 2026. So yeah, really a historic event for us. Also, we continue our journey on training the next generation of physicians with additional residencies and programs. So for instance, this year, we started training pulmonologists and critical care physicians. And we will fill that residency and fellowship. So a lot of good work being done on the educational fronts.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, in the studio, Mr. Mike Nagowski, the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, and he's our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Mike, let's talk about the challenges that the health system is facing this year. Are these challenges unique to the community, or are these challenges largest in general?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of both. But some of the biggest challenges that we, like everybody in healthcare, and I think honestly across the nation, are related to workforce. Right? Let me give you an example. At Cape Fear Valley, we employ 2,000 nurses, right, in a variety of settings. Inpatient at the bedside, in the operating rooms, in physician offices, at where you get X-ray and MRI and CT, our imaging centers, 2,000 nurses. Nationally, there's a 25% turnover in nursing. That's a national statistic. And here at Cape Fear Valley, we see that same level of turnover, but it's even a little bit higher because some of our nurses have partners who are in the military. And when the military transfers people back and forth, their partners go, right? So some simple math tells you if we employ 2,000 nurses and 25% turnover every single year, the math says every year we got to go find and bring to Fayetteville 500 nurses. 500 nurses.
Wow.
So we rely heavily on our partners. All of our local schools have really stepped up in a very meaningful way to help bridge the gap. And Omega, it's not just in nursing, it's in all of our specialties. Our therapies like respiratory therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, but not just in nursing, pharmacy, our medical staff, our nursing assistants. So for us, workforce is a major amount of work and effort. And I'm grateful to Fayetteville Technical Community College, Fayetteville State University, Methodist University, Blading Community College. Amanda Lee down there does a wonderful job and is such a big cheerleader for us. Up in the Sanford area, CC, the Carolina Central, great work that they're doing. The partnership there, all of our local schools and universities are taking steps to increase their class size. And that partnership has been vital to our continued growth. Because, you know, if you're going to add more beds to a health system, if you're going to expand services, you need professionals to do that work. And so I'm grateful to the community and the fact that they're doing that for us. So yeah, Omega, like all organizations, like everybody, we've got our challenges, but we've got defined plans and great partners to help us get there.
It sounds like some great plans, Mike. Do you feel the healthcare industry has bounced back from the pandemic, Mike?
You know, I get to ask that question quite a bit, and I think the answer is yes and no. There is no doubt, I remember vividly in the midst of the pandemic, we mobilized forces, we did whatever we could. We had thousands of people line up outside of our hospital to get the vaccines, right? And so it was, fight, survive another day, right? Well, that's in our rearview mirror, right? We're well past that, but there are lingering effects. I think a few things. One that hits home for a lot of families is we're not exactly sure why, but it's clear the pandemic has had a lingering effect on our children, right? And I'll give you a great example. Our emergency room is one of the busiest emergency rooms in the nation. And one of the things that we saw at the later stages of the pandemic, but is still with us, is this impact on children. So normally, our pediatric emergency department at the medical center would see about 35 to 38,000 visits on an annual basis. And we have great turnaround time in our pediatric ED, right? Wait times are never a problem there. But what we saw about a year ago is that wait times in our pediatric ED started to skyrocket, just off the charts. And so as we did a deeper dive, what was clearly happening is the number of holds in our pediatric ED went up dramatically. And what I mean by a hold is the patient has been seen. We have done everything we can for that patient in the emergency department, and now it's time for them to go to their next level of care. For us, that means one of two things. We're going to put you in an inpatient bed because your care needs to be continued in a hospital setting, or we're going to discharge you to a safe place. Usually for a child, that's home. But what we saw is that they needed to be discharged to a different level of care, a location where they couldn't go home for whatever reason. The family couldn't take care of them. That was not a safe location, but they needed different level of care. And there just is no place to put these children, right? DSS here locally is doing all they can to find homes and placement in alternative settings. And what we were finding is these children we couldn't discharge them, and they didn't belong up in the pediatric wing, so they stayed in the emergency department, Omega. And it was terrible. So what we did was we built a whole nother department for pediatric holds, 12 beds. And right now, if I took you down to that zone, you would see 12 children waiting for placement in the community somewhere.
Wow. Just
awaiting placement. So I think in large part, the pandemic's in the rearview mirror, right? And as a nation, as a health system, we're better that it's in our rearview mirror. And I'm grateful, right? Prayers have been answered. But there are some lingering effects. And I think no more acute than with our children. So we will continue to work on that. We have an outstanding child and adolescent psychiatry department working with them. So a lot of work being done there. I have to say, it's not just Cape Fear Valley that's noticed it, but the state of North Carolina has noticed it. And Raleigh's been very kind to us. Omega, you may remember about 2 years ago, we opened a brand new facility on the campus where we house adolescents who need inpatient behavioral health care. We have 16 beds for adolescents. And for us, an adolescent is essentially people of the age of 13 up to 18. So that age group, teenagers, right? We all remember those years. For you and I, Omega, just a couple of years ago.
It's last year.
Last year, we're all. So we opened that facility, and instantly it was full. Well, the state saw the success of that facility, and they approached us and they said, "Hey, Mike, that has gone so well. Would you open another one of those facilities in Harnett County?" So they've given us the money to do that, and we will break ground on the 30th for the next adolescent unit. This time we're going to place it in Harnett County, in Lillington, on the campus of our Central Harnett Hospital. So
That's amazing. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know, Mr. Mike Nagowski is our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live, and he is the CEO of the health system. Now, Mike, are there any big plans beyond this year that you can actually talk to us about?
Yeah. Oh my God, there are.
Okay.
There are a few big plans. You know, I've mentioned the medical school, and we're really excited about that. We anticipated opening in 2026. When it's fully operational, we'll have 120 students in each year of medical school. Now remember, medical school is 4 years after you finished your first 4 years of college. So it will, at full operation, will be 480 doctors in training. And that gets a lot of press and a lot of accolades, and you can see the building being built. But the other school that we're anticipating being started is that of a CRNA school. And the best way I can describe that is a lot of people know what an anesthesiologist is. You know, if you're going to have surgery, you want an anesthesiologist, right?
Yeah.
That's the doctor who comes to you and helps put you to sleep.
He puts you to sleep.
Make sure you stay asleep. And then most importantly, wakes you up, right? it's not that hard putting you to sleep. It's the waking you up part that we really got to get done well.
Okay.
So now the anesthesiologists, those doctors work and every single day. We've got lots of them working in our operating rooms, and we're grateful. They do a great job. But the people that work with them, the CRNAs, certified registered nurse anesthetist, are essentially their right hand in the surgery. So they work hand in glove with those anesthesiologists, making sure that you're put to sleep properly, you wake up when you're supposed to, and you don't wake up during the surgery. So that they are in dramatic shortage, and there's just not enough schools. So we're so grateful that Methodist University is stepping up, and they're going to create the state's newest CRNA school. We anticipate that school being in the medical school, right? So it'll probably be on the 4th or 5th floor of the medical school. But what a great partnership. And again, I can't thank our local universities enough. Certainly Methodist with the medical school, and now them starting the CRNA school, but FSU and Bladen and FTCC, really happy.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, in the studio, Mr. Michael Nagowski. He is the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. He's our guest today. When we return, we're going to continue our conversation, and we're going to probably talk more about this medical school. Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Make sure you stay close.
We'll be right back with more of Making Rounds Live.
Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live.
Broadcasting and streaming live from the WIDU Community Room on 99.7 FM, 1600 AM.
The We Do Radio Network.
A worker was reportedly hit and killed by a vehicle on the tarmac at Charlotte Douglas International Airport on Monday. The Trump administration has ordered a freeze on grants, loans, and other aid overnight. On Monday, a federal appeals court heard arguments in North Carolina Judge Jefferson Griffin's challenge of more than 60,000 votes from the November election. Tax season is officially here, and if you gambled on sports in the last year, you will likely owe money. An almost $1 trillion sell-off for technology stocks on Wall Street was triggered by a Chinese-owned startup company called DeepSeek talking about a new advance in AI. FEMA's newest initiative in Helene Recovery is helping thousands of North Carolina farmers. A string of agricultural recovery fairs began on Monday in McDowell County. And bouts of cold air coming down from Canada to the northern parts of the country. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. The Fayetteville Police Department reminds residents to take proactive steps to prevent motor vehicle theft, especially during colder months when many people are tempted to leave their vehicles running unattended to warm up. To reduce the risk of motor vehicle theft, police recommends never leave your vehicle running and unattended. Lock your doors and roll up your windows, even when your car is parked in your driveway or garage. Park in well-lit areas and avoid parking in isolated or secluded areas. Use a visible anti-theft device like a steering wheel lock or alarm system. If you see suspicious activity around a vehicle, call police immediately. Cumberland County Commissioner Glenn Adams joined the Fayetteville chapter of Jack and Jill of America, Inc. and the Cumberland County Department of Public Health for a maternity health and wellness program event. The collaboration focused on supporting your community's health and well-being. You can learn more about the Department of Public Health by going to cumberlandcountync.gov. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Tuesday morning, starting out with temperatures mainly in the 30s. We'll see a gusty wind developing from time to time over the next couple of days, but during the afternoon, that'll help to warm us up. Today, we're mostly sunny with high temperatures in the upper 50s to near 60 degrees. Overnight, it's mainly clear, temperatures dropping into the mid-30s. And as we head into tomorrow, mostly sunny. Check this out. High temperatures in the mid to upper 60s, nighttime lows mid-30s. For the North Carolina News Network, I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the Weather Center.
We now return to Making Rounds Live.
Cape Fear Valley's Making Rounds Live.
Broadcasting and streaming live on the WIDU network, 99.7 FM, 1600 AM. Here's Omega Jones.
Ray, welcome back to the second segment of Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Our in-studio guest today, Mr. Mike Nagowski. He is the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, and we are talking to him about the expansion of the health system, talking to him about the plans for 2025. And right now, Mike, when we were going into the break, we were talking more about the expansion, and we were talking about the plans for the health system. So one thing that I'm going to ask you on a personal note, what are your personal goals for the new year? Do you make New Year's resolutions?
My wife and I, every year, do make New Year's resolutions. You're not going to ask me how successful we are you?
No, because if you're like me, it doesn't last 24 hours. If you're like me, my God.
We, for us personally, family is always so very important. And you know how this is. You are so dedicated to your work. And, being in healthcare, it's such a noble profession. And I think a lot of people in healthcare are like this. If you could, that's all you would do 24/7, because no matter what you accomplish, there's still more to do, right? We've got over 8,000 employees in the health system. We do over 1 million touch points with patients on an annual basis. And no matter what we've accomplished, it's not enough. There's still more to do. So I can sometimes get kind of wrapped up in that. And I'm a fortunate man because I married my high school sweetheart. We went to the prom together, and 40 years later, we're still together, right? So she sets me straight. And this year, when she looked me in the eyes, she said, "Now look, you got to have to spend more time with the family." Our last child that's at home is leaving. She is a senior in high school. She's been accepted into college. She wants to be a marine biologist. And so this summer, my wife and I are going to become empty nesters.
Empty nesters.
Yeah. So now, it's not the first time we've had a child go on. My oldest is 34, and I have 3 grandchildren from her, and they're all local.
Yeah.
And they're over all the time, right? And then I have a son who's 31, and his family, they have 1 grandchild, but they're between Florida and Texas, so we don't see them all the time. And then the youngest, Tori, is getting ready to move out. So, we've said we're going to try to spend more time as a family. So I'll let you know how the New Year's resolution success rate goes.
All right. I'll talk to your wife this evening and give her my personal phone number. That's what I'm going to do, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, in the studio, Mr. Michael Nagowski. He is the CEO of Cape Fear Valley Health, and he's our guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. All right, Mike, let's get back to business. Bird flu. I was talking about that on the news this morning. It's making the news, as I said. And what is your take on the bird flu? Is this going to be something that we're going to have to worry about? Is this going to become a pandemic?
So Omega, we monitor through a number of agencies. Certainly at the federal level, we've got tremendous contacts. But here locally, we have Fort Liberty and WOMAC and the DOD. And so we're in constant contact with them and our federal and state partners. And we do not see it at all developing into a pandemic like COVID. We just don't see that on the horizon. Now, we monitor that. This time of year is traditionally flu season, RSV, all of that. It just ran the last 2 weeks through my daughter's house. I think they all got it, and then they all passed it around again, got it a second time. So, and we're certainly seeing in the emergency departments, not just here in Fayetteville, but in Bladen and Hoke and in Harnett, and I'm getting reports at the state level that all of our EDs are feeling a little bit overrun right now. But as far as the bird flu, we do not see that at all developing into the pandemic. I know that rightfully so, the media has picked up on it, and they're asking the right questions. But right now, our intelligence says that we don't see it developing anywhere near like what we saw a few years ago.
One question that just popped to mind, you were talking about the flu and RSV. Flu shot. Is it too late to get the flu shot, Mike?
Omega, it is never too late to get a shot, especially the flu shot. We may have peaked or be close to peaking, but, this is a many months situation, and believe me, you don't want the flu. And the vaccination is by far the easiest way to that. Even if you do get the flu, it's at a much reduced level. So many of us that work in healthcare, we're exposed to this on a regular basis. And we catch things that our patients give us, but we're all vaccinated, and the proof's in the pudding, that it keeps us healthy. And even if we do catch one of these viruses, it doesn't hit us the way it would if we didn't have the vaccination. So we're big on vaccinations. We promote them. We provide them. Please get vaccinated.
Because the reason why I asked that is I heard the term triple threat used here in Cumberland County. What exactly does that mean?
Well, so it means different things to different people, but there are so many different viruses that are coming around, and the way viruses live from year to year is they mutate, they change, and so the manufacturers of our vaccines are always trying to anticipate what the latest strain is going to look like. So I tell everyone, I wouldn't get so caught up in all the terminology and all of that. If we get our vaccinations and we stay up to date on that, we're safer as individuals, as a region, and as a country.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Nagowski is our in-studio guest today on Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live. Mike, I know you said COVID is in the rearview mirror, but if we did see a health crisis again, like we did see with COVID, do you think the country would be able to handle it? Do you think we learned our lesson?
So, everything is situational, and it really would depend on the situation. But I think there's little doubt, as a nation, we're much better prepared than we were 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I think our supply chains are strengthened. Mm-hmm. I know now when we're buying what everybody learned about PPE, masks and protective personal equipment, we've got multiple vendors. We don't just simply rely on supply chain out of China. Mm-hmm. Our purchasing organizations are much more diverse than they used to be. Internally, our processes were tested, most often stretched, and we learned a lot about that. Here locally, I think our expansion of our ICU beds is a great example of our readiness. Mm-hmm. There is no doubt that as a nation and as at the state level, we're in a much better level of preparedness. But I don't ever think we're 100% ready. We need to continually survey the situation, look at what's going on in the world. A lot of people will say, well, that's happening in that part of the country or in that part of the world. We're a global world now, and transportation, if somebody gets sick in California, it's just really a matter of hours, maybe days before it's here. So I think so, Omega. I think we're much better prepared than we were before.
And Mike, the last question is there anything that we haven't talked about? Is there anything that we haven't discussed? Maybe something that you want to stress to our listeners and our viewers before we go?
Omega, I just would like to say thank you. More people than ever are choosing Cape Fear Valley for their needs. We honestly wake up every morning and hope that nobody needs us, right? We really do. But that day isn't here yet. So the fact that more people come to us for emergency care, for cancer care, for orthopedic care, for heart care, tells us that we're heading in the right direction. The one thing that I didn't specifically talk about that you will see us in 2025 and 2026 execute on is we're very proud of our trauma center. right? We are what's known as a level 3 trauma center. Well, we are taking active steps to intensify our ability to take care of even additional trauma patients. So through 2025, you will see us take active steps to become not just a level 3, but a level 2 trauma center. We have recruited additional trauma orthopedic physicians who specialize in trauma care. You know, a lot of trauma is motor vehicle accidents. And the orthopedic care required to take care of someone who's been in a catastrophic car accident is different than your traditional hip and knee type of surgery. And our orthopedic physicians have done a great job taking care of trauma. But we have recruited additional orthopedic physicians who only take care of trauma. And so that will dramatically improve our abilities. We've recruited additional neurosurgeons.
Wow.
Right? So you know, in addition to Dr. Hayworth and Dr. Stamati's and now Dr. Boone, we also have additional neurosurgeons coming in 2025 and 26. So we're really excited about our advancements in care. So I wanted to make sure all of your listeners heard that it's not just about providing more access for what we already do, but it's providing care at a higher level. And again, thank you to your listeners. More and more people choosing Cape Fear Valley and recommending Cape Fear Valley to their friends and family. And Omega, thank you for always being there for us.
Mike, I'm always going to be here. You know that. One department that we have not talked about that is near and dear to me is Cape Fear Valley's Cancer and Cyberknife Center. We didn't talk about that. Give us an update on that. What's going on with that?
Well, unfortunately, we've not found the cure for cancer yet.
We will.
We will. There is no doubt about that. Where there's a will, there's a way. We are seeing record number of oncology patients, both for medical oncology, which is largely chemotherapy, but also radiation oncology. And at Cape Fear Valley, one of the things that we've done in Harnett County is we've just built and made operational the first full-service cancer center for the citizens of Harnett County. So, yeah, on the campus of Central Harnett in Lillington, there is a 3-story, 66,000 square foot medical office building. The whole first floor is the oncology center. They have medical oncology and radiation oncology services there locally. So people don't have to travel to get world-class cancer care. Cancer takes enough of you. You don't need to be traveling in addition to it. So all of that work is in place and it's operational, Mega. We're really excited about that. What you will see us begin in 2025 is planning for a massive renovation and expansion of the local cancer center.
Really?
Yeah. The oncology program at Cape Fear Valley is large and lots of people work there, but we've outgrown it. The number of people seeking care for cancer at Cape Fear Valley has grown dramatically. I'm afraid to tell you, we saw 135,000 medical oncology visits last year. I'm not making that number up.
135,000.
135,000 visits. And that cancer center is world class. The doctors are fabulous, and the nurses are just simply outstanding.
Everyone is amazing.
But it's not big enough anymore. And the technology advances in both radiation and cyberknife therapies. We need space. And so you'll see in 2025 and 26 us work through the planning and begin that work. So so I'm glad you brought up oncology. I don't know a single person that has not been impacted by cancer. My personal family, I know your family, just about everybody's family. So until we get a cure, we're going to be there for our community.
And on that note, I think we need to close out the broadcast, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike Nagowski, our in-studio guest today. Michael, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a very, very busy man. So for you to take time to be with us today, we greatly appreciate that.
It's my pleasure, and I always love being with you, Omega. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, our next broadcast will be Tuesday, February 11th, when we'll talk about Heart Month with Cape Fear Valley Health's Patient Care Manager for Cardiac Services Administration, Mr. Benjamin Beeson. You remember him. He's a returning guest. So he'll be with us, so I hope you join us. So, ladies and gentlemen, for our producers, Shaka Jordan, Mr. Ray Thomas, and Miss Lindsey Graham, the amazing team behind the scenes, I'm Omega Jones, continuing the legacy of Darvin Jones. Thanks for listening and watching Cape Fear Valley Health's Making Rounds Live.
Your station for